I'm Margot McMahon, an author who lives just outside of Chicago. And I want to tell you how I found the clues in plain sight to tell my family's untold family stories. First of all, my grandmother's depression glass ended up at my home for Christmas dinner. And it had all these chips in it when I was first given it. And why did she buy the depression glass? How did it get chipped? And every one of them was chipped. And then why did she hang on to them for so long? Those were all questions I asked. And then there's a teacup that's from Japan. My parents went there in the 60s when I was in first grade. And so it was very memorable for me because I had just started school and they're on a round the world trip. So when my daughter was in college, we went back to Japan and I found an antique sale. It was a warehouse filled with antiques, and everything in there made me feel like I was back home again because it was the objects they brought back to us. And when I was in Japan, I felt like this is so different until I got to that antique market. And then it was like, oh, yeah, this is what mom and dad were showing us. And now I'm showing that to my daughter. So those were also clues that I could write about in that, my book. And then for a while, this painting called Possible Grandparents was my working title. It really inspired my deep dive into research. My father painted this painting, and what I also discovered was that he told our family story through his artwork. A man of few words, he explained a lot. So he had never met his grandparents. He called this possible grandparents, and he invented them with all the information that he had. She has a suffrage hat on. They were up from upstate New York. He looks athletic and tall and was probably in some kind of a very athletic kind of work. And yet he's a gentleman with the hat there that you can see. They're in a Chicago subway station, so they're elegantly dressed for a fabulous evening out. So I learned a lot with this. And their actual story I've written up in If Trees Could Talk, which uncovers 5 generations of my family, all through these kind of clues. Objects trigger emotions. Maybe your sister got the cups, not you. Or maybe you're like, this is my only connection to my grandmother who I barely knew. So write down those emotions, write down your questions. Take that energy that you have, that the object triggers in you, and write a 50-word snippet, and then another, and keep all those, in your book, handwritten or in your computer. And then look to the Greek 3-act structure to put those snippets together to create an arc with an inciting incident that grabs the audience. At the halfway point, a total change happens and your protagonist is now a different person in a different direction. And then there's a step down to the final conclusion and the answer to whatever the inciting incident caused. So have fun with it. Enjoy those moments of letting your emotions rise up and write them down, capture them. Good luck with your writing.